Hello, my friends. It's Indiana Holmes here for story time again. And we continue with our book, A Damsel in Distress. And we start today with chapter 27. In his bedroom at the Carlton Hotel, George Bevan was packing. That is to say, he had begun packing. But for the last 20 minutes, he had been sitting on the side of the bed, staring into a future which became bleaker and bleaker the more he examined it. In the last 2 days, he had been no stranger to these gray moods, and they had become harder and harder to dispel. Now, with the steamer trunk before him, gaping to receive its contents, he gave himself up wholeheartedly to gloom. Somehow, the steamer trunk, with all that it implied of partings and voyagings, seemed to emphasize the fact that he was going out alone into the empty world. Soon he would be on board the liner, every revolution of whose engines would be taking him farther away from where his heart would always be. There were moments when the torment of this realization became almost physical. It was incredible that 3 short weeks ago he had been a happy man, lonely perhaps, but only in a vague, impersonal way. Not only lonely, with this aching loneliness that tortured him now, what was there left for him? As regards any triumphs which the future might bring in connection with his work, he was, as Mac, the stage doorkeeper, had said, blasé. Any success he might have had would be but a stale repetition of other successes which he had already achieved. He would go on working, of course, but the ringing of the telephone bell across the room jerked him back to the present. He got up with a muttered malediction. Someone calling up again from the theater, probably. They had been doing it all the time since he'd announced his intention of leaving for America by Saturday's boat. "Hello?" he said wearily. "Is that George?" asked a voice. It seemed familiar, but all female voices sound the same over the telephone. "This is George," he replied. "Who are you?" "Don't you know my voice?" "I do not." "You'll be quite well before long. I'm a great talker." "Is that Billy?" "It is not Billy, whoever Billy may be. I am female, George. So is Billy. Well, you had better run through the list of your feminine friends till you reach me." "I haven't any feminine friends." "None? That's odd. Why? You told me in the garden 2 nights ago that you looked on me as a pal." George sat down abruptly. He felt boneless. Is that you?" he stammered. "It can't be. Maud?" "How clever of you to guess, George. I want to ask you one or two things. In the first place, are you fond of butter?" George blinked. This was not a dream. He had just bumped his knee against the corner of the telephone table, and it hurt most convincingly. He needed the evidence to assure himself that he was awake. "Butter?" he queried. "What do you mean?" "Oh, well, if you don't even know what butter means, I expect it's all right." "What is your weight, George?" "About 180 pounds, but I don't understand." "Wait a minute." There was a silence at the other end of the wire. "About 13 stone," said Maud's voice. "I've been doing it in my head. And what was it this time? What was your weight this time last year?" "About the same, I think. I always weigh about the same." "How wonderful, George." "Yes." "This is very important. Have you ever been in Florida?" "I was there one winter." "Do you know a fish called a pompano?" "Yes." "Tell me about it." "How do you mean?" "It's just a fish. You eat it." "I know. Go into details." "There aren't any details. You just eat it." The voice at the other end of the wire purred with approval. "I never heard anything so splendid." The last man who mentioned pompano to me became absolutely lyrical about sprigs of parsley and melted butter. Well, that's that. Now there's another very important point. How about wallpaper? George pressed his unoccupied hand against his forehead. This conversation is unnerving him. I didn't get that, he said. Didn't get what? I mean, I didn't quite catch what you said that time. It sounded to me like, what about wallpaper? It was what about wallpaper. Why not? But, said George weakly, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, but it does. I mean, what about wallpaper for your den? My den? Your den. You must have a den. Where do you suppose you're going to work, if you don't? Now, my idea would be some nice quiet grass cloth. And, of course, you would have lots of pictures and books, and a photograph of me. I'll go and be taken specially. Then there would be a piano for you to work on, and 2 or 3 really comfortable chairs, and, well, that would be about all, wouldn't it? George pulled himself together. Hello? He said. Why do you say hello? I forgot I was in London. I should have said, are you there? Yes, I am here. Well then, what does it all mean? What does what mean? What you've been saying about butter and pompanos and wallpaper and my den and all that, I don't understand. How stupid of you. I was asking you what sort of wallpaper you would like in your den after we were married and settled down. George dropped the receiver. It clashed against the side of the table. He groped for it blindly. Hello? He said. Don't say hello. It sounds so abrupt. What did you say then? I said, don't say hello. No, before that. Before that, you said something about getting married. Well, aren't we going to get married? Our engagement is announced in the Morning Post. But, George, Maud's voice shook. Don't tell me you are going to jilt me, she said tragically, because if you are, let me know in time, as I shall want to bring an action for breach of promise. I've just met such a capable young man who will look after the whole thing for me. He wears a bowler hat on the side of his head and calls waitresses Mabel. Answer yes or no. Will you marry me? But, how about, how about, make up your mind. What do you mean? The other fellow, gasped George. A musical laughter was wafted to him over the wire. What about him? Well, what about him? Said George. Isn't a girl allowed to change her mind? Said Maud. George yelped excitedly. Maud gave a cry. Don't sing, she said. You nearly made me deaf. Have you changed your mind? Certainly I have. And you really think you really want, you really think, don't be so innocent. Maud! Well, will you marry me? Of course I will. Gosh. What did you say? I said gosh. And listen to me. When I say gosh, I mean gosh. Where are you? I must see you. Where can we meet? I want to see you. For heaven's sake, tell me where you are. I want to see you. Where are you? Where are you? I'm downstairs. Where? Here at the Carlton. Here at the Carlton? Alone? Quite alone. You won't be long, said George. He hung up the receiver and bounded across the room to where his coat hung over the back of a chair. The edge of the steamer trunk caught his shin. Well, said George to the steamer trunk, and what are you butting in for? Who wants you? I should like to know. And that, my friends, appears to be the end of the story. In the end, old Maud realized that she had only been infatuated with that man over in Wales and had mistakenly selected him and pined over him for a whole year, when in the end, it was George, after all, who won her heart. And so, the end of the story, they will be married. I love the way at the end of the story, how in this last chapter, she became sort of so strident, so forceful and forward, and knew what she wanted finally, and wasn't afraid to go after it and be very direct with George. And poor old George, he must have had his head spun around 3 times trying to figure out who this was, what this was, if she was kidding. But in the end, love triumphed. I hope you like this story, you guys. It was a very sweet little G-rated story, and one I think that everybody could relate to in some way, or at least root for one of the characters, and maybe share some joy for our two sort of mixed up lovers, or maybe they're not lovers, but mixed up love interests who finally found themselves. Well, this was a short reading, but now that we finished this, I need to select another book, and I have to decide where I'm going to start putting these books, because YouTube has changed some of their rules. And one of the things they do not want is they do not want people making videos and uploading videos that are not based on original content creation. So, me reading these public domain books might possibly cross the line of what they're interested in doing, and with the channel going forward, with YouTube going forward. So I think I'm going to research some of this today and figure out where I can start uploading our stories as we go forward. Somebody yesterday, I think it might have been Steven, when we were on a live stream at Disneyland, I mentioned that maybe Facebook Live is a possibility. I'm also looking at a couple of other platforms, possibly Patreon. But anyway, so I have a lot of work to do today. I have to figure out, where the new home of our story time with Indiana Homes is going to be, and what book we will read next. Anyway, this has been Indiana Homes. Thanks for following along with this book with me, and we will see you in the next episode. Make sure you have your notifications turned on, because I will have to make an announcement on this channel as to where we're going with story time from here. All right, my friends, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notifications button. Thank you very much.